Hey everyone, today I'm going to show you on how you can get cheap flight tickets. I've traveled a lot, so I've learned a lot, and hopefully you guys can learn from my mistakes and not repeat the same mistakes I made. So just to jump right into it, the site that I use religiously is Skyscanner, but there's another site called Momondo. And the only difference between the two is that Momondo has like a newer interface, so it looks newer and modern, whereas Skyscanner is more old school, but they both essentially do the same thing. They search multiple websites so that you don't have to. For example, it will automatically search Expedia, Priceline, the airlines directly themselves so that you don't have to look at these websites separately. You can just go on Skyscanner and it will do all the searching for you. So when you book through Skyscanner, it's going to take you to another website to complete the booking. Just make sure that the website that you're booking through is a website you've heard from before and that is reputable. If you are not familiar with the website, usually what I do is that I Google the website's name to see the reviews on it. And I think there's a site called Trustpilot where people just leave reviews on all the websites to show whether it's legit or not, or just a complete scam. So make sure when you're booking, it's through somewhere reputable. And a couple of features that Skyscanner has that I like is that when you can put your origin city, but your destination can be everywhere. So it will literally search everywhere around the world and show you from the cheapest to the most expensive flights. So if you're looking for the cheapest place to fly to on this particular day, it will tell you where it's cheapest to fly, which I think is pretty cool. The second cool feature about Skyscanner is that you can search the days, like which day is cheaper, so then you can change your dates around and literally get the cheapest flight ever. Those are the two features that I love most about Skyscanner. So there are two tips I can give you if you're looking for the cheapest flight. The first tip is you've got to be flexible with your dates, and you're probably not going to fly on a Saturday. Your cheapest days are going to be Tuesday or Wednesday, almost always. And if you're looking to be really cheap, flying on the holidays is some of the cheapest flights you can get. For example, flying on Christmas Day, Thanksgiving Day, or New Year's Day, because everybody plans to already be with their families on that day. So those are your cheapest flights. For example, I'm flying from Turkey back to the USA and I paid $430. But if I had booked on Christmas Eve or a week before Christmas Day, my flight was around $700. So obviously it was much cheaper for me to fly on Christmas Day. And the interesting part is that I will actually still be arriving on Christmas Day in Boston because of the time difference. So I will still be arriving on time for Christmas dinner. So it worked out perfectly. And the second tip I can give you is you've got to not mind layovers. So one time I booked a flight from Turkey to JFK with a 12-hour layover in Moscow, Russia. And if you look at the map, Moscow, Russia is in the complete opposite direction of where I need to go. But despite this, it was significantly cheaper, so I went through with it. And needless to say, I was exhausted after this journey, but it was worth it. And for some reason, the worst possible flights in the world are actually your cheapest flights. And a long layover can be worth it if A, you're not completely exhausted, or B, you're able to leave the airport and then it's not so bad. But because I went to Russia, and as a US citizen, you've got to have a visa to leave the airport in Russia. So I was stuck inside the airport and it was just such a long journey. But yes, if you want to have a cheap flight, then having a long layover is probably going to happen. Another tip I can give you is to split up your flight. And this will work especially well for a one-way flight. And what I mean by that is that instead of booking your whole journey through one airline, say KLM, so you only have one reservation, and as an example, let's say from Istanbul to JFK with a stopover in France, sometimes it is cheaper to split it up through two different airlines. So for example, I know the budget airline from Istanbul to France would be Atlas Global. And then I know another budget airline that goes from France to either Boston or JFK, and that would be Norwegian. My only issue with Norwegian is that they charge 50 euros for a checked luggage, which I think is a little bit ridiculous and pretty expensive. But yeah, that's what I mean by splitting up your flight, is splitting up your reservation into separate flights, especially if you already know which budget airlines fly where. So a couple of other quick tips is to check your luggage's weight before you board a flight, because some airlines are very strict about how much your luggage weighs. Like even if it's like 0.1 off, they will make you take something out of your bag. So always weigh your luggage before you leave. And another tip, especially if you're flying with Norwegian Airlines or an airline that charges a ridiculous amount of money for food, which is most budget airlines, is to bring some snacks with you, especially if it's going to be a long journey, because then you'll be considering on paying like 10 euros for like a chocolate bar. And also, a couple of times I made the mistake of going on a budget airline and not printing my boarding pass in advance. I thought that showing it on my phone would be enough, but they ended up charging me. And this was Spirit Airlines, by the way. But always print your boarding pass, especially if it's on a budget airline, and you should be good. And my one last final tip is that when you're booking a flight, don't wait less than 40 days before your flight date, especially if it's an international flight, because I can guarantee you that that flight price is going to go up after that. It's not going to go down. And I've made that mistake so many times. Like I'd wait till the last second and I'd always end up spending a little bit more because I waited too long. So always try not to wait too long, because sometimes I can't resist to keep waiting and I keep waiting and then I get screwed over. So it's always usually better to book in advance than to keep waiting just to save maybe $10 or $20. So book in advance. I hope this video was helpful to some people, and if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask me down below. I'm a new YouTuber, so it'd be cool if you'd subscribe because I'm new. So have a wonderful rest of your day.